have been around for more than a year, and we have only done 2 of these videos, and I think it's high time we do another one. Welcome to the 3rd episode of
Gamer Recommends.
Today we're going to talk about this nice little indie tower defense RPG called Defend the Rook. But Alex, what's this bullshit about $7 tower defense RPGs? Where's my review on Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous? Where's my Temple of Elemental Evil review? Dude, cut me some slack, okay? Those videos are hard. Look at the footage I have to go through for the Pathfinder review. And there's another folder almost as big as this one for Temple of Elemental Evil. So go easy on me, okay? Also, it's been a while since the last time I did a Gamer Recommends video. And believe it or not, I think this nice little indie title is worth one of those. So let's get to it. I had an art teacher once who said that the reason why paintings are often spaced out in picture galleries with large chunks of blank walls between them is because you are meant to stare at these large chunks of wall after appreciating each painting so that the colors go back to normal in your retina or something like that. It's like doing a white balance on a camera, as I understand it. And I don't know if that's true, if it's useful, or if it's bullshit, but there it is. And being the worldly connoisseur of fine art that I am,
bullshit,
I've always thought of some games as blank wall games. Because if you are going to shove 140 hours of Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous down your throat, I don't know about you, man, but I like to take it easy before I immediately tackle the next 60-hour plus Titan. And for $7, you could do a lot worse than Defend the Rook. A roguelike turn-based game with RPG mechanics. Or rather, mechanics that you typically find in RPGs. My bet is that Defend the Rook will keep you thoroughly entertained for at least a couple of gaming days. And hey, it's a perfect recommendation, I think, for those who always say,
"Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that."
every time you recommend a game. The same people that come in on Monday and say, "Dude, I watched all 40 episodes of 3 seasons of blah blah blah." That's neither here nor there. You know who you are. Defend the Rook is a game that you can jump at for 30 minutes, an hour, and then just go back to what you were doing. In Defend the Rook, you play a Magister, some dude with untold magical powers who's helping a queen sort of defend her kingdom. Although that's not all there is to it, but I won't be spoiling it to you this time. And this happens in 5 different battlefronts that you must tackle one after the other. And these battlefronts host, well, battles. Each of these battles consists of 5 waves of randomly generated enemies. Gameplay is turn-based, and in each turn, you can assign an action to each of your 3 heroes and to your Rook, which is the fortress you're meant to defend. You know, the one in the title of the game? If your Rook is destroyed, it's game over. There's also a limited amount of low, mid, and high tier spells that you can use, and towers that you can plant in certain tiles that will attack your enemies at the beginning of every turn. You also have traps and barrels that you can use to taunt enemies. And these elements have different versions that you can purchase later across your multiple playthroughs. As straightforward and easy as it sounds, one thing that Defend the Rook absolutely nails is the principle of easy to learn and hard to master. Even if you don't entirely get a grasp of all of the game's mechanics during your first playthrough, you will almost surely be able to come out victorious in all 5 battles. But this is a roguelike and you are meant to play it multiple times, and Defend the Rook has quite a few thingies to make all these playthroughs interesting and progressively more challenging. The game has Ascension levels, and each of these Ascension levels adds an additional difficulty or obstacle. Also, some of these battlefronts change in every run. For example, the second battle can be against either an army of northerner invaders or a host of vampires. And the third battle can be against an army of sentient mushrooms or weird mollusks and other sea creatures. Even the final boss for some of these battles may change from playthrough to playthrough. This, for example, is a Hydra that you can only hurt when you kill its heads. And it's an alternative boss that you may get in the third battle instead of the original Mushroom King boss. But the most interesting thing about Defend the Rook is the way in which you evolve in your strategies and tactics. At first, things are easy enough for you to enjoy each battle as an individual challenge, without having to worry too much about your party's build or your resources, or even looking into the new versions of skills, traps, rooks, and even characters that you unlock as you play the game. But if you pay enough attention, and, well, because the game doesn't give you much of a choice, you'll come to the realization that this is a war of attrition. And if you want to even have a chance at surviving the last battle, you'll have to focus on a strategy, build your party accordingly, and invest your resources appropriately. Every time you defeat a wave of enemies in a battle, you get to choose from 3 different loot options. On your first playthroughs, your approach to this is surely going to be something like,
I'ma choose this one because it's more powerful.
but as the game gets harder, and as you get older and wiser, you'll come to memorize the entire spectrum of loot that's available in the game, and you'll start to choose those skills that work well together rather than those that offer standalone benefits. After every battle you can level your characters and purchase some perks for your towers, traps, and contraptions, and these perks change every time you play the game. At some point in the game, skills and contraption perks will become very expensive, so you won't be able to level up everything, and since the game will also become very extremely difficult, you'll have to decide a strategy and focus on those skills, tower perks, and loot that work well together to even get a chance to finish the campaign. Also, every playthrough you get diamonds with which you can purchase new skills, traps, towers, rooks, and even characters. But nothing is ever perfect, and there are a couple of things that I'm not crazy about in Defend the Rook. Admittedly, these things were meant to work the way they do. First, you only get to see the intro of the game during your first playthrough, and that hurts the immersion in my opinion. Sure, you're probably going to skip every dialogue in the game after your first 2 runs, but since a little something extra is added to the story every certain amount of playthroughs, I would have liked to see that initial meeting with the Queen a couple more times at least. And second, although you learn a bunch of very cool skills, you don't get to build your own deck of skills every time you play. The game randomly generates 3 combos of skills for you to choose. And I get it, the whole point with these procedurally generated enemies, loot, skills, tower perks, and even battle scenarios is that you learn to adapt. But fixed combos of skills is something that cripples choice, and I hate when that happens. I get why it happens, but I'm not a fan of it. Also, while I was taking on the last 3 Ascension levels, I got the feeling that I was only able to make it through to the next level when I was lucky enough to get the loot that worked well with my tried and true strategy from previous levels. So my success felt a little bit more like the product of luck than the result of good tactical decisions. That unfortunately made me grow a little bit tired of it. But I continue to play it because there's a promise that the final piece of the story will be revealed when I conquer the final level. All in all, Defend the Rook is a nice little wall for you to stare at between games, and one that you can come back to several times. And if you don't have the time to fully commit 4 hours of your time to a game every time you sit your ass on a chair for gaming purposes, this might just be the game for you. If you want to know more about the game, check out Splattercat's video here on YouTube. I'll leave a link for it in the description section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thank you for watching all the way up until now. If you like what you're seeing in this channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell to avoid the usual YouTube shenanigans. Share the video, but most importantly, never stop gaming, but don't let gaming get in the way of your hopes and dreams. Bye everyone.